Hey, welcome to another episode with Coffee with Chris. Raise your coffee cup up right now, take a sip, and let's go. Let's learn about how we can help each other when it comes down to your parents who need care in their home. And today is a special topic that I wanted to talk to you about, and that has to do with, should someone with dementia be driving? You know, this is hard. And when I talk to somebody always on the phone about their parents who wander or want to pick up and just leave the house anytime they want to, but then have this disease, how frustrating it can be, and all the things that run through your mind of safety and things that could happen to them. I've had scenarios where someone literally drove over well over 50 miles away from their home to find their home that they lived in when they were a child, but forgot to come back home. Remembered to get there, but forgot to come back home. And so there's so many things that happen. And so the question really for this is for me to help you answer is, should someone with dementia be driving? And with Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia that often, present slowly over time in our parents, this can make it very difficult for even close family members and friends to even notice that there's something going on, especially in the early stages. But unfortunately, the nature of this progressive condition, often leaves our families extremely vulnerable during these periods of time, and it's hard. It's hard. Nothing, and each parent is different, between the onset of the symptoms and then knowing exactly that they have it, and then the progressively things that change over time. But in addition, to causing all these changes and that happen with typically what they are is with the daily activities, like you're cooking and paying the bills and getting dressed in the morning, bathing, managing their medications. Dementia can also, it affects all these different type of things and the ability to also drive. And not only does does their unsafe driving it could endanger other people as well too, not just themselves. It could be a hazard of their surrounding community. So the question I wanted to answer for you is, when should someone with dementia stop driving? And so, when driving is one of the most difficult issues that family members and caregivers face when their parents are aging, especially with Alzheimer's disease as it progressively gets worse and related different type of dementias that are out there. That when mom and dad, aren't aware of their cognitive impairment, this can be very difficult. And that is a condition that's called, that you could look up. But uh the, and trouble following the logic of the actual argument that you're sitting with your mom and your dad and you're trying to tell them that they shouldn't be driving and getting on the road, and they cognitively think that is okay. Having these conversations can be so hard and difficult, but you're not alone. Millions of people are going through this. And so this conversation about taking the keys away often turn into a very repetitive conversation that you're having. And it can be very tricky, for you as a family member to determine what the exactly steps are. So the different types of dementia that cause all these different types of symptoms that get worse over time, they all happen in different variable speeds. So dementia usually presents a different type each person differently, and the symptoms can fluctuate, and the severity of the time and even day to day, in hour by hour, can be very unpredictable in nature of how they handle and behave. This holds a very true type of issue that lots of people have difficulty when we're talking about the driving situation, is that you want to talk about how important is to protect the public and let them know how, if they were to hurt somebody, if they were to drive, and make them feel like this could be something bigger than them, and making this decision, it could hurt another family member. So it's good for them to get that emotional attachment of the decision that they're going to make, right? So when there's wandering, dementia, and driving, this is a dangerous mix of what's going on in your life right now. And it could be very can not just hurt someone else, but also too is your family members who are caretakers. It could be your burden of the time that you're putting in as a caregiver, and you can be tired right now. You could be very burnt out, and you're not taking care of yourself anymore. And wandering, is a common behavior that you start to see, and that people are going through right now. And this is part of the disease, and often occurs when they leave this safe place that you feel, that such as their home, and they go somewhere and they do something, and then but they're disoriented and lost when doing it. So, Alzheimer's Association has a really interesting statistic, and it's like they say 6 in 10 people with dementia will wander at some point during the progression of their disease. That's 6 out of 10. That's a lot. Anyone with the ability to walk and can wander and move and get around and to access their automobile could significantly increase how far a senior can travel from home and the level of danger that they can encounter while wandering. So it's important to address this condition. And that over 70% of missing drivers were men. Did you know that? And so this is a statistic that came from Alzheimer's Association, that who traveled an average of 116 miles from their home before them even being found. Now, it's important to understand that only about 20% of missing drivers, when they do get into the car, were still driving around when they were found. So the rest had either been involved in, it could be there was an accident, or sitting in a parking lot and not sure what the next move for them to do, or had gotten out of the vehicle and then just left and just started walking around the surrounding area. Now, there's also certain scenarios where they can be around a railroad track, or parked in the middle of a road and stop, or walking in an area that's very busy. So it's really important to understand how to stop the person who has dementia when driving. So stick with me on this podcast all the way through, because I want to make sure that you get valuable information to help you. Now, the car keys are a symbol of independence, as for all adults, all of us, doesn't matter what age, even young, which usually makes taking them away a huge task and difficult. It can be very daunting, and it can be one of the hardest type of habits that you're going to break for your parent. As our parents age, we must be mindful of this conversation that you're having, and you need to start looking for the signs that possibly that you could address with them and talk to them. One could be their mental condition, and also the physical abilities that are starting to change, and that this could affect their driving, and them trying to get to the point of having this guilt feeling of making this choice to be able to get behind the wheel. This is an extremely delicate conversation, and you're gonna have struggle, but under circumstances, it's with this conversation and getting them to understand that this driving decision could hurt others, is that they need to really truly get to the bottom of that decision. Many aging members in the community that I've come across, they have this combination where their loved one gets behind the wheel, and they require, now talking about taking their keys away, right? Now revoking their driver's license, possibly starts to occur, and then taking away their auto insurance and saying that expired and they can't drive without it, and could possibly disable them from possibly utilizing the car, or just locating the battery if they tried to get in. The people go to that extent, and it works. Some, it works better than most, so others. So the extent to you go to the the school or the state of Michigan they have to take a test in order for them to get their license. They're aware of the process when they got their license, that and then letting them know that it's expired and they have to go through the class in order for them to drive. That helps too. So they know that's a redirectional tip, is that they have to take this class in order for them to drive, and so that's expired. That's just one type of way to redirect. Or their insurance is not, like I said, their insurance is expired, and that you have to take their keys away and they can't drive until you actually fix that. This is something that they remember as childhood. Having these conversations about the retirement of driving is intimidating, but you must do it in a kind way that express the safety concerns. Again, hiding the keys often requires some type of creativity in the home. Now, extra security measures as well, especially if the household still, you know, if other people in the household still are going to use that vehicle. When it comes down to your parents losing their driver's license, you, like I said, you could with them call the department, the DMV, and you could ask them for their advice. They could hear it on the phone with you. They could tell you that if your parents lost their license, what do you do? And they could hear that process. Once they hear that process, they know that they have to go through that in order for them to drive. And then, you might even not ever go. Then they know that as time goes on, that if they don't go through that process, then they won't get their license, or they can't get in the car. So some are more cooperative than others about that tactic as well too. Now, the early stages is one of the scariest times that you're going to go through when you have dementia. And usually this is the things that you start recognize, that things are changing with your parent that you loved and you knew, and the sharpness that they always had. And then now things are starting to change, and you have to have these difficult conversations. And so they often know when you're having these conversations too, and even though they have dementia, that there's something wrong, right? When you're having these conversations, and they're unsure of why you're having it, and they could be afraid about even talking about it with you, and they behave in a certain way that it could be where they could be verbal abusive too as well. But be understanding and always stay kind, and try to concentrate on your understand that they have this cognitive impairment and it's not their fault, and then you have to the tone and the energy has got to be important, but also too is have to be stern about how dangerous this can be and the risks of others that it can affect. So I hope this helped you just a little bit. And if you have any questions, visit affinityseniorcare.com. You can contact us as well to set up a consultation with your family members, and we can talk about how we can help you guys and make sure your parents are safe in their home and receive the best care possible. Thanks for your time. We appreciate you as we grow together. And if this was valuable, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook channel as well. Follow us and share our posts, please, to somebody that you think that this could help. Take care, and God bless, and talk to you all soon.